All right, Hoptown Hoppers TV. This is Ethan Alexander. We are here in Madisonville, Kentucky, facing the Madisonville Miners. Tonight's starting lineup for your Hoptown Hoppers includes Robert Estrada in right field, Gavin Baxter at third base, Luis Vergara left field, Carter Hood second base, Dom Oliviero center field, Chase Cummings at shortstop, Reed Douglas behind the plate, Manuel Villalobos at first, Mac Biggs is your designated hitter, and then Francisco Paradis will be your pitcher tonight for Hoptown. That means Robert Estrada will be leading things off here in the top of the first. Once again, we are in Madisonville, Kentucky, taking on the Madisonville Miners. Of course, the Hoppers coming off a loss just last night to the Henderson Flash. 5-2 loss that game, remaining at 4-0 for the majority of it, and then turning 5-2 in the later innings. Hoping to get something done here today. And let me back this out real quick. That's in. There you go. Robert Estrada will start things off with a ball. The pitcher tonight for the Madisonville Miners is Reed Gongwer, number 14 on the mound. He is from the University of Montevallo. We've seen some of those players so far this season. I don't believe that the Hoppers have anybody from Montevallo, but if I remember correctly, Full Count Rhythm had a couple. And that second pitch fouled off, so 1-1 the count here. And the third pitch is high, so 2-1 the early count as Robert Estrada finds himself up early. That one is swung on, and it will go foul, but a good hustle there from the Miners right fielder. So we're looking at an even count at 2 for Robert Estrada. I am stationed in the stands tonight, so if you hear a lot of background noise, that's why. I'm one of the people today, and that ball is played towards the shortstop, who will not make the throw. Robert Estrada is safe at first with fast legs to make it there, and the Hoppers have a base runner here in the top of the first with no outs on the board, and Gavin Baxter stepping up to the plate. And Baxter bunts, and that is a pretty bunt, and the throw will beat him still, but Estrada advances to second base. Baxter barely out at first. And Luis Vergara up to the plate. Estrada at second base here. 1 out on the board. That bunt from Baxter led to that one, and then that first pitch there fouled off, so 0-1 the early count for Luis Vergara, facing off against Reed Gongwer, the pitcher for the Miners tonight. I believe they're telling the Hoppers dugout to get everybody in the dugout. So that is what the holdup here is, as not quite everyone was behind the fence. Now they are, looks like, so we will continue for Luis Vergara. First at-bat of the game for him. And that one is hit between the third and second baseman, and Estrada will stop up at third base. Luis will make his way to first base, and Hoppers threatening early with runners on both corners. Carter Hood up to the plate now. I don't believe he played yesterday. I could be wrong. No, he did not play yesterday. So Carter Hood, who is playing second base tonight for the Hoptown Hoppers, is up to plate now, trying to bring in Robert Estrada, who's at third base after his single. Luis Vergara got him there with his single. He's sitting at first base. Carter Hood at the plate. We'll swing on that one to get behind early, 0-1 the count. And that one as well. So 0-2 early here as Carter Hood finds himself behind in this one. His first at bat of the day, only 1 out on the board. And that one is outside. So 1-2 the count, 1 out. Runners on the corners. Dom Oliverio is on deck for the Hoppers. Of course, Oliverio, your home run hitter, the only one so far for Hoptown. And that ball is swung on, and it will drop in front of the center fielder, and that will score Robert Estrada. So the Hoppers up early in this one with runners now at second and first, and the score 1-0 favoring Hoptown. Dom Oliverio up to the plate, and we have 3 singles already for Hoptown here, with a runner in scoring position being Luis Vergara, and Carter Hood now at first base, and Dom Oliverio at the plate. Only 1 out on the board. That pitch is a strike. 0-1 the count early. And I'll apologize if you hear any wind behind me. That's because I'm sitting at the top of the bleachers and I'm getting the wind to my back. So there will be wind probably throughout this broadcast. That pitch is outside. 1-1 the count with 1 out on the board. Luckily, I have all my equipment duct taped down, so hopefully nothing will go flying over the folks in front of me. That pitch is popped up foul, but the catch will be made, and Luis Vergara will advance to third base, and he does. So runners back at the corners. 2 outs now on the board for the Hoppers. And Chase Cummings up to bat now. Dom Oliverio there fouling that one, but the right fielder with a ton of space over there in the right foul area can make the catch, but Luis Vergara advances to third base, so still a runner in scoring position here. The Hoppers have the early lead. Of course, the Miners haven't had any chances to compete back yet, and that is a strike. 0-1 the early count for Cummings. Chase Cummings playing shortstop tonight. That pitch is high. We saw some Chase Cummings at shortstop at the end of the last game when he took over for, I believe, Kaito Muto at shortstop. A pretty big shortstop. And that pitch just on the outside of the strike zone. So 1-2 the early count for Chase Cummings, as we are about halfway through the lineup here for the Hoppers. Cummings here to keep the Hoppers inning alive. Will swing on that one and send it foul. I don't think that right fielder is going to be able to make that run, so the count remains 1-2. And if you see anybody cross in front of the cameras tonight, and I'll finish that sentence in a minute as Chase Cummings strikes out. So after a solid inning there from the Hoppers, they only come away with 1 run. We will move to the bottom of the first as the Miners try to answer back. We will be right back with Hoptown Hoppers TV. And we are back. Hoptown Hoppers TV here at the bottom of the first inning. Francisco Paradis will step up to the mound tonight as the starting pitcher for the Hoptown Hoppers. Paradis has started one game already, and I can't quite remember. I believe that was the Clarksville game, so the third game of the season, and then he relieved, I believe, one inning. So he's had 2 appearances so far this season, and this will be his second as a starter. Can't exactly tell you how he did in those, but if I remember correctly, he did pretty good in his relieving appearance. I think he was only in for 1 inning at the time. And for the minors to get things started will be Wyatt Cunningham, the right fielder out of the University of Montevallo. So already 2 players from Montevallo mentioned tonight for Madisonville. And that pitch will be called a strike. So 0-1 at the early count here for Cunningham, the right fielder for Madisonville tonight. And that pitch hit towards the second baseman Hood, who will make the play at first. Sorry I didn't pop the camera over there, but got to take my word on that one. So that is the first out of the inning, a quick one against Wyatt Cunningham. Next up will be Braden Taylor, number 9, and the shortstop tonight for the Miners. Braden Taylor out of Johnson University. Can't tell you where that is, but Johnson University, Braden Taylor, the shortstop, will swing on that one, and it will draw. No. Oliverio will make the catch in the center field. It looked like he wasn't ready for it, but he was. And there's already 2 outs on the board. Quick and efficient pitching so far from Francisco Paradis. And up to the plate now is Brandon Juarez, number 17, from Vincennes University. The DH tonight. And Paradis will start the at-bat with a strike. So 0-1 the early count for Juarez. And that ball will be fouled into the dirt. So a quick 0-2 count here for Brandon Juarez. That pitch is popped up towards the first base side, and Manuel Villalobos will make the play. So a quick 3 up, 3 down for the Hoptown Hoppers. And we move to the top of the second inning after some quick work from Francisco Paradis. We will be right back with Hoptown Hoppers TV. All right, we are back. Hoptown Hoppers TV as number 17, Reed Douglas, the catcher, will step up to the plate for the Hoppers here in the top of the second inning. The Hoppers, of course, leading this one 1-0 early. And that pitch is just outside for a strike call. I mean, not a strike call, a ball. So 1-0. The count here early for Reed Douglas, and that one is high, so 2-0 early, and this one. And the third pitch is hit well right in between the center, and never mind, he gets to it, and Douglas will push towards second, and that ball is bobbled, so he will make it. Reed Douglas with a double. And the Hoppers hitting very well to start this game, already having 4 hits, 3 singles, and now a double for Reed Douglas. And Manuel Villalobos, the first baseman, will step up to the plate. We have a runner in scoring position, 0 outs. That pitch low and outside, 1-0 the early count. And the second pitch is fouled off, and the first baseman will give up on it, so that'll be a strike 1-1 the count. That pitch is very nice. It'll be called a strike. 1-2 the count for Manuel Villalobos out of Alderson Broaddus University. That was probably a balk there, but not called. And so that pitch is hit foul on the left side line, and we'll keep the count the same. Reed Douglas doing some dancing to maybe get in the head of Gongwer on the mound. Villalobos trying to stay alive here and keep the outs at 0. And he will swing on that one. It will pop up towards the first baseman, who will make the catch, leaving Reed Douglas at second base. And Mac Biggs, the DH tonight for Hoptown, will step up to the plate. One out on the board, a runner in scoring position being Reed Douglas, and that pitch is straight down the middle, swung on and missed, so a strike for Mac Biggs swinging. That pitch called a strike. Looked a tad bit outside, but it was close enough. 0-2 the early count as Mac Biggs finds himself behind here early. And some wind coming in. That pitch definitely outside. 1-2 the count. Wind coming in, threatening to knock over the cameras here, so I'll keep a close watch on that. These tripods are pretty sturdy, but you never know. And Reed Douglas will steal third, and he will make it without even being close. So Reed Douglas now at third base, and the count now at 2 apiece for Mac Biggs. So Reed Douglas threatening to score the second run for the Hoppers here. Would like to see a little bit of something from Mac Biggs here. Even a sacrifice fly into the outfield would be nice, because Reed Douglas can move, and he'll surely go. And that pitch is swung on. It's popped up, but it's not popped up in the right place, and the catcher will try to make the play. It'll drop just over the netting, so Mac Biggs will stay alive. A lucky one there. Sure looked like it was going to be able to be played on, but that was not the case, and Mac Biggs will keep fighting. Reed Douglas at third base, still only 1 out on the board for Hoptown. And Robert Estrada on deck, who scored the first run for the Hoppers tonight. And that pitch is fouled on the right side of the field, so Biggs will remain alive here as he is getting Gongwer to throw some pitches. And Estrada will come and talk to him. Get his head in the right spot. They need him here. This would be huge if he can get on base especially, but definitely if he can move this runner. And that pitch popped up deep to right field. He can't see it. He lost it, and he will still make the play. and he throws that into home, and the catcher misses it. Douglas will make it in, and that ball definitely would have beaten Douglas, but the catcher cannot get a grab on it, so the Hoppers will put another one up on the board, and Mac Biggs there, interesting enough, gets it done. I actually thought that ball was going to drop. The left fielder there lost it. I would say in the lights, but it's bright outside, so I think he just lost the ball. It was so high, and it was so high that it came down just long enough for the left fielder to still be able to make the run on it. And they're going to tag third base and test it just to make sure Reed Douglas left on time, but either way, you still got to make that throw home, and they weren't able to do it. So the Hoppers with an early lead here, and Robert Estrada, we are back up at the top of the lineup for Hoptown. And he will hit that one similar spot to the last time, and it'll get through. Robert Estrada with his second single of the day, a first pitch swing there. Sorry for not restarting the count. So Robert Estrada already to a hot start, 2 straight singles for Robert Estrada. And there is another runner on base for the Hoppers. 2 outs on the board. Gavin Baxter is at the plate. And that'll be a ball, the first strike there. So a 1-0 count here early for Gavin Baxter, who was thrown out at first base after a decent bunt in his first at-bat in the first inning. That pitch definitely low, so 2-0 the early count here as Gavin Baxter finds himself up early. And that pitch straight down the middle, so 2-1 here, the count for Gavin Baxter, who is playing third base tonight, one of the 2 returning Hoppers in the lineup tonight, him and Luis Vergara, who will be batting after Baxter. Baxter will hit that one towards the third baseman, who will make the play at first. So that'll end the inning for the Hoptown, but not before they get another run on the board. The score is Hoppers 2, Miners 0. I will be back for the bottom of the second inning. And we are back, Hoptown Hoppers TV. This is Ethan Alexander, and we are at the bottom of the second inning as the Miners will try to answer back. Hoppers up early here, 2-0, and third baseman River Terry, batting in the 4-hole, will step up to the plate. Terry, number 33, I don't know if I said that already, from Centralia College, and originally from Sandy, Utah, so pretty far away from him. And he will immediately foul the first one off for an 0-1 quick count. And it's just nice to be at a ball field where they don't play as many sound effects as we heard last night. So that's a benefit. And a check swing there will still be called a ball. So at least the home plate umpire checked the first base side, but first base umpire says that one was a ball, so 1-1 the count here. That pitch definitely low, so 2-1 the count for River Terry. That pitch also in the dirt, so a quick 3-1 count here for Terry as Paradis threatens to get his first walk of the night, and a Miners batter will threaten to be the first on base tonight for Madisonville. That pitch is inside, so River Terry will walk.
Batting for the Miners, center fielder number 22, Nazir Bergen.
And up to the plate now, number 22, Nazir Bergen, the center fielder. He is out of Johnson University as well, so the second player from Johnson University we've seen tonight. And Reed Douglas will have a quick chat with Paradis after his walk of River Terry. Pretty good crowd tonight for Madisonville. The stands here almost full. There's a lot of Hoppers fans in attendance too, one of the closer destinations for Hoptown. First pitch there for Paradis is called a strike. 0-1 the count. Second pitch, just outside, so 1-1 the count for Nazir Bergen, the Miners center fielder, batting here in the 5-hole. In that first inning, of course, we saw 3 up, 3 down for Madisonville. That pitch swung on, and Reed Douglas will check that runner at first, make sure he comes back. So 1-2 the quick count here for Bergen. And that pitch hit very well towards Robert Estrada, and he will make the throw towards third base, but the runner will beat him, and Bergen will advance to second. So runners at third and second now, no outs. And Paradis would love to have that one back, had Bergen sitting at 2 strikes before giving up the double. And still no outs on the board either, so Madisonville in a great position here to put some pressure on Hoptown, who came out swinging early. Hoptown already this season has struggled with maintaining leads early in games. That pitch, a strike. 0-1 the count. This is Will Vance, the left fielder, at the plate. That pitch popped up, and that's going to be a hard ball to play. But Robert Estrada is going to try his best, but it ends up being foul. Estrada, with a fantastic hustle, tries to slide for it, can't quite make the catch. And so 0-2 the count for Will Vance, who's number 28 and out of Wabash Valley, a good baseball program over there. Oh, 2 the count, as Paradis would like to stump a batter here and get at least 1 out on the board. And he will do just that as Vance swings on it, and that'll be a strikeout, Paradis' first strikeout of the night.
For the Miners, catcher number 20, Noah Clark.
And next up to the plate will be number 20, Noah Clark, the catcher for the Miners. He is out of Indiana University Southeast, so I will just assume that's in the southeast of Indiana. He is the catcher, like I said. First pitch is swung on for a strike. 0-1 the quick count. Runners two in scoring position on third and second base. Second pitch hit very well towards left field. Luis Vergara will run it and miss the catch, but it ends up foul. So 0-2 the count. Another great hustle from a Hoppers outfielder, but just coming up short on those deep foul balls. Of course, Madisonville's field here, very close walls all the way around. So don't be surprised if we see some action deep tonight. It is a little difficult, especially in center field, as there's a little bit of a dip-off hill that the outfielders have to traverse, and that pitch is fouled, so Clark will survive. And that pitch super high, but Reed Douglas with the athletic move to make the catch there and keep the third base runner from advancing. 1-2 the count now with one out on the board. And that'll be a strikeout, 2 straight strikeouts for Frankie Paradis, as he's throwing some good pitches here. And Ben Combs, the first baseman, will approach the plate. Combs, number 31, is playing out of Centralia College, so the second player from Centralia we've seen so far for Madisonville. And that pitch is outside for a ball, 1-0 the quick count. Runner's still on third and second base, but 2 outs on the board. And that is hit well, and it's hit past. And that'll score 2. Both runners come home. Runner at first base now, 2 outs on the board, and the score is tied after that one. A single from Ben Combs, and we are back at the top of the lineup. No, never mind. Colton Shirley, the second baseman. He'll foul that one right away for the quick 0-1 count. As the Hoppers, who got out to a quick lead in this one, quickly give it up. And it's a tied ball game in the bottom of the second inning. Paradis does a good job to strike out 2 straight batters to give Hoptown some hope, but gives up the single. And that pitch called a ball, 1-1 the count. 2 outs on the board. Runner at first base. Just going to take a gander from looking at Combs that he's probably not going to be stealing here. That pitch definitely outside, 2-1 the count for Paradis, who would like to stop the bleeding here and get out of this inning. Probably a longer inning than we saw from any of the innings last night. That pitch fouled off towards the left field line, and it's going to hit the wall, but definitely foul. So the 2s are wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs for Colton Shirley. And he's going to be fighting to keep the Miners in this inning right now. That pitch fouled off, so Shirley will stay alive here. And a lot of clapping tonight from the Miners fans. Some sounds on the soundboard for Madisonville that elicit claps from the fans. We heard it after those runs scored, and we've heard it before several pitches now, but nothing obnoxious like last night. And that pitch swung on for the strikeout. So 3 strikeouts, 3 outs for Paradis, but not before 2 runs score on a walk, a double, and a single. And we will head towards the top of the third inning. Hoptown Hoppers TV. We'll be right back. We are back here in the top of the third inning. Luis Vergara standing on the plate. That pitch is called a strike. Looked a tad bit low. Called a strike nonetheless, so 0-1 the count. And Vergara will swing on that one, so quickly here, Vergara sees an 0-2 count. Usually a player, one of the more consistent batters for the Hoppers. He'll swing on that one too, so 3 straight strikes will retire Vergara for the first out here in the top of the third. And Carter Hood, who already has Carter Hood, who already has a single in this game, will step up to the plate. Some good music here tonight in the break there between the second and third. We heard Kiss by Prince, and another one Bites the Dust after the strikeout there by Queen, and that'll be a pop-up towards left field, and the play will be made.
First up for the Hoppers, number 10, Oliveira.
Dominic Oliverio will now step up to the plate with 2 outs on the board very quickly for the Hoppers, who hit very well in those first 2 innings, but here is looking a little stumped. That pitch, a strike, 0-1 the quick count here for Oliverio. That pitch wide and outside, so one the count, 2 outs here as Oliverio tries to get something started for the Hoppers in the third inning, who bounced out to a quick 2-0 lead before giving up 2 quick runs at the bottom of the second, and that'll be a single towards left field for Oliverio to get a runner on base for Hoptown. Sorry I didn't throw that camera angle out there, but came pretty quick. And Chase Cummings will step up to the plate, the shortstop for the Hoppers. That pitch straight down the middle, a strike. 0-1 the count. Runner on first base, 2 outs on the board. Reed Gongwer remains on the mound for Madisonville. That pitch called a strike, surely looked outside, but I don't have the greatest angle in the world. But 0-2 the count nonetheless for Chase Cummings, who flew out, I believe, either that or was thrown out at first in the first inning, or our first at bat, and that pitch will shoot down towards the shortstop, who will step on second base and send this to the bottom of the third. And we will return with Hoptown Hoppers TV in the bottom of the third inning. And we return here in the bottom of the third inning. The score remains Hoppers 2, Miners 2. And the first up to the plate for the Miners will be Wyatt Cunningham, who flew out in his first at-bat. We are at the top of the lineup for Madisonville here in the third inning. And that first pitch will be hit towards Manuel Villalobos at first base, who will step on the bag, and the first out there, quick.
Number 9, Brayden Taylor.
Paradis has pitched pretty efficiently tonight. Even in that last inning, he had 3 strikeouts for all 3 outs of the inning. Just gave up a couple of hits and a walk that sunk the Hoppers in that inning, but has pitched pretty efficiently otherwise. That is a pretty pitch. 0-1 the count. Dropping inside there. That's a nice pitch, and it looked like it from up here. So 0-1 the count. And the second pitch, the same exact pitch, once again called a strike. 0-2 the count. 1 out on the board as Paradis gets up early here on Brayden Taylor. And nearly hits Taylor there, who starts moving his way to first, but I don't think it hit him. 1-2 the count, as he will be called back to the plate by the umpire. Doesn't put up much of a fight. Third pitch in the dirt, and Douglas stops it, so that'll even up the count 2 apiece. 1 out on the board. That pitch swung on for a strikeout. 2 outs in the bottom of the third for Hoptown, and a strikeout, the 4th of the game for Francisco Paradis. And Brenton Juarez, the DH, will step up to the plate. It was just announced just a moment ago that Juarez got engaged yesterday, so congratulations to him. And the first pitch will be a strike. 0-1 the count. 2 outs on the board, as these 3 batters went 3 up, 3 down in the first inning. That pitch, the same one called strike earlier, called strike again. 0-2 the count. Fans not too happy about those, but I think those are pretty routine strikes. That pitch is definitely a strike, straight down the middle. Another strikeout for Francisco Paradis. And that'll send us to the top of the 4th inning, as great pitching will do it there for the Hoppers. The score remains Hoptown 2, Madisonville 2. We will see you in the 4th inning. We are back here, the top of the fourth inning. Score remains Hoppers 2, Miners 2. Reed Douglas will step up to the plate for Hoptown. Douglas had a double in his first at-bat there in the second inning, which led to him scoring. And that pitch is a strike. So 0-1 the quick count against Douglas. That pitch in the dirt and goes wild. Count 1-1. That ball outside, so 2-1 the count as Reed Douglas finds himself ahead here. And Douglas will chop that one towards the second baseman who will make the play. So that'll be the first out of the top of the fourth for Hoptown. Manuel Villalobos will step up to the plate. He will swing immediately for a swinging strike. Villalobos has been known to have an itchy trigger finger as far as swinging is concerned. And that ball just outside, so 1-1 the count, 1 out on the board. So something I'm sure Villalobos is working on this summer is his plate discipline. Hope to see that here from him. And that'll be fouled behind him. Gongwer remains on the mound here in the fourth inning for the Miners. Gave up 2 runs in the first 2 innings, but pitched well in the third, and is pitching all right here as well. So finding his rhythm just a little bit for Madisonville. That ball high and outside to even up the count 2 apiece. And that pitch is lasered by Villalobos, and it'll hit the wall, and Villalobos will round his way towards second base. And a great hit there from Manuel Villalobos, and you wonder if he's just a quicker player, perhaps a Robert Estrada, if that could have been a triple, because gets past the left fielder, and then once the left fielder picked it up to throw it, he bobbled it again. So, you know, Villalobos does a good job making his way to second, no doubt about it. But, you know, a player like Estrada, maybe even like a Sam Perkins, who's not playing tonight, one of our quicker players, I think could have turned that a triple. So just a beautiful hit there for Manuel Villalobos, and Mac Biggs will now step up to the plate, and that ball is outside, so 1-0 the count. 2 doubles tonight for the Hoppers, coming from Reed Douglas and now Manuel Villalobos. That pitch high, 2-0 the quick count for Mac Biggs as he finds himself ahead. And so far tonight, probably the best hitting we've seen from Hoptown all season long through the first 3 or 4 innings now. That pitch swung on for a strike, so 2-1 the count, a runner in scoring position, that being Manuel Villalobos, and 1 out on the board. That pitch swung on as well, so the count now evened at 2 apiece for Mac Biggs, who flew out in his first at-bat, but high enough, and Reed Douglas would score on that after tagging up at third. So Biggs has done, and he will swing on that one. 3 straight missed swings for a strikeout against Mac Biggs. And Robert Estrada will approach the plate for his third at-bat of the day. He already has 2 singles in this game, Both of those, I believe, going towards the same spot between the third and shortstop. And that pitch low and outside for a ball, 1-0 the count. That pitch outside and high, so 2-0 the count for Robert Estrada, who I'm sure they don't want to throw straight down the middle to, as he's already shown he can do something with it. And you definitely don't want to do that when you have someone at second base, but there are 2 outs on the board, and Estrada will watch that one as it goes into the strike zone. So 2-1 the count. Two outs on the board. And Estrada will swing on that one, but the second baseman will make the play at first. So the Hoppers will leave the top of the fourth scoreless. And we will move to the bottom of the fourth, and we will be right back. Hoppers 2, Madisonville Miners 2. And we return here in the bottom of the fourth inning as River Terry
Third baseman, number 33, River Terry.
will walk up to the plate. Terry walked in his first at bat. That pitch just inside, so that'll be a 1-0 count for Terry. Francisco Paradis will remain on the mound for Hoptown. And there is a pretty pitch. He's been throwing those all night. They are very nice. So that's a strike. 1-1 the count. That is popped up towards center field. Dom Oliverio calling it off, and he will make the play. So that's the first out of the bottom of the fourth inning. Paradis continues to pitch efficiently in this one, trying to extend his outing, get as many innings out of him pitching well as they can tonight. Something the Hoppers haven't seen a ton of this season is deep starting pitching outings, and Paradis right now hasn't thrown too many pitches, so something positive there. And that pitch outside, so 1-0 the count as Nazir Bergen will approach the plate, and he has a double in his first at-bat. That was the double that set up that 2-run inning, and there's a single on, oh no, Oliverio bobbles it, and that turns into a double really quick. So a bobble in the outfield will send Bergen to second base. I'm going to count that as a single and an error. And so Bergen already hitting very well in this game. And Will Vance, who struck out in his first at-bat, is at the plate. That pitch just inside for a ball, 1-0 the count, 1 out on the board and a runner in scoring position for the Miners. That pitch popped up towards first base. Manuel Villalobos will make the play. So 2 outs here in the bottom of the 4th, but a runner on second base for the Miners, so they're still threatening. And Ben Combs will, or not Ben Combs, excuse me, Noah Clark, the catcher who struck out in his first at-bat, will step up to the plate here to try to bring Bergen in and give the Miners the lead. First pitch swung on for a strike, 0-1 the count. Paradis pitching pretty well today. Nothing getting too wild, knock on wood. I don't try to jinx him. But only 1 walk, 5 strikeouts for Francisco Paradis. That pitch low in the dirt, so 1-1 the count here with 2 outs on the board and a runner in scoring position for Madisonville. They scored their 2 runs in the second inning, bottom of the second. Here in the bottom of the 4th. Same kind of group of guys they saw in that inning. And that pitch is laced towards Luis Vergara, and that'll bring in the run.
Batting for the Miners, first baseman number 31, Ben Combs.
So a single there from Noah Clark in the RBI, scoring Bergen. So the Miners take the lead, and Hoppers went up 2-0 in this one. Like I said earlier, they've just struggled all season long in maintaining leads. They've been hitting all night, but they can't do it at the right time. And the Miners now have the lead as Ben Combs, who had a single, steps up to the plate, and he takes a strike right out the gate. 0-1 the count, 2 outs on the board. Looked like the Hoppers were going to make it out of this one without giving up a run, but Noah Clark has other plans. And another strike, 0-2 the count as Ben Combs finds himself behind early. And that pitch, looked very close. 1-2 the count, called a ball. Combs thought about swinging on that one. Looked like it ran across the strike zone and ended up on the bottom right corner, but called a ball. And here's Paradis. And that pitch popped up foul, so Combs will remain alive. Combs with the pretty single in the second inning that scored the 2 batters, I believe, that were on second and third at the time. That pitch hit very well, and it'll land. And Luis Vergara will snag it and hold the runner up at second base, but not before Ben Combs hits another beautiful single. And Paradis, in his last 4 batters, he's given up 3 singles, so maybe a little iffy on the mound here for Francisco. As Colton Shirley steps up to the plate, he struck out in his first at-bat. And that's the second batter, I believe, now that has gotten a hit with 2 strikes. And the Miners remain alive here, and they now have a runner in scoring position. And that is hit directly at Paradis. And I'm hoping he's all right, didn't take that one too hard to the back. That had to leave a mark. Maybe it was a glancing shot, but those can't feel good. And Mike Albin will come out and chat with him because that's 3 straight singles given up by Francisco Paradis. That one a little bit harder to control as it comes flying straight at him. There's nobody warming up for Hoptown, so it looks like they intend to have Frankie play this one out. Can't quite see the Miners bullpen tonight, but I have a decent look at Hoptown's, so I should be able to get the binoculars out and tell you who's warming up throughout the night. And if the Hoppers can get out of this inning with only 1 run given up would be very, very nice. At one point it looked like they weren't going to give up any here, but now the bases are loaded, and Wyatt Cunningham, who has not been able to get anything done tonight, steps up to the plate. He's the leadoff hitter for the Miners. Paradis throws that one inside, nearly hits Cunningham. Don't want to see that with bases loaded. And you have to imagine Paradis is feeling some sort of hurt in his back after taking that blow from the ball. And that pitch is popped foul, so 1-1 the count. Did look like it was a bit of a glancing blow. Paradis got out of the way for the most part, but it definitely hit him. And it's a pretty quick line drive when it hit him, so hoping he's all right. That pitch is laced towards Manuel Villalobos, and it'll make it past him, and they're going to send 2 home. Robert Estrada will make the throw, but he makes it in. And I'm confused here. Looks like Reed Douglas. I'm not sure, but the Miners score 2 more. And that is 4 straight singles for the Madisonville Miners. And they have runners on the corners now, so still threatening to score as Braden Taylor steps up to the plate. He struck out in his last at-bat. So this inning went from looking like it may be 0 to now being 3 runs. And the score is now 5-2, which was, of course, the final score in yesterday's game. That pitch outside, so Paradis starting off here 2-0 in the count, and it looks like Hoptown will start warming up some of their relievers. They're getting some stretches in over there. That pitch called a strike, looked inside to me. 2-1 the count. 2 outs on the board, runners on the corners here in the bottom of the 4th. That pitch in the dirt, and Douglas stops it. So 3-1 here as Paradis threatens to load the bases for Madisonville, who last time we saw that, which was just a moment ago, they scored 2 runs. That pitch is a strike, so a full count as Paradis tries to stop the bleeding here for the Hoppers and send this one to the top of the 5th inning. And he will do just that as Braden Taylor goes down swinging. 2 strikeouts straight for him, but not before the Miners get 3 more runs. And the score is now Hoptown 2, Madisonville 5, and we will return the top of the 5th inning. We are back here, top of the 5th inning. Gavin Baxter now at the plate. He will hit one, and the right fielder will make the play. Looked like it might drop, but just stayed in the air a little too long. So a first pitch swing there from Gavin Baxter, and that'll put the first out on the board for Hoptown here as Luis Vergara steps to the plate. Reed Gongwer still on the mound for the Miners. First pitch there, a strike, 0-1 the count. Gongwer pitching the first 5 innings here. Giving up 2 in the first 2, but since then has left the Hoppers quiet, and that one will foul off. So 0-2 the quick count for Vergara, who struck out in his last at-bat, a player who the Hoppers are not used to seeing striking out. So back-to-back strikeouts here would be something they're not used to from Luis Vergara, who's been very solid so far this year. That pitch outside. 1-2 the count here, 1 out on the board. No runners on base. Luis Vergara at the plate. That ball in the dirt, so that'll even the count up at 2 apiece for Luis Vergara. And that'll be fouled off as Vergara remains alive in this one. That pitch is laced towards the left side. That'll be a pretty one, and Vergara will round first and head to second for the double. So a good hit there from Luis Vergara.
Now batting for the Hoppers, number 25, Hood.
Vergara already with a single and a double today, as Carter Hood will now approach the plate. Hood with a single in his first at-bat, but flew out in his last one. 1 out for the Hoppers here, with a runner in scoring position being Luis Vergara. And Carter Hood at the plate. And he will swing on that one. 0-1 the quick count. Dom Oliverio on deck for Hoptown. And he will foul that one off. So Carter Hood off to a quick 0-2 count as he falls behind against Reed Gongwer. And that ball is outside, so 1-2 the count here for Hood, the second baseman. And he hits that one very well down towards the center fielder, who will make the catch, but Vergara will head to third base, and he will make it there without question. That ball was very well hit from Carter Hood. Nearly goes out. Maybe if it was a little bit farther to the right, it would have. But that'll be the second out of the top of the 5th inning for the Hoppers, and now a runner on third base being Luis Vergara as Dom Oliverio steps up to the plate. Oliverio today with a single in his last at-bat. So a good position here for Hoptown, who need to start scratching their way back into this game. And that pitch is outside for a ball. 1-0 the early count. And that is hit very well. But a fantastic play from the center fielder to stop it. That was an absolutely great play. Madisonville fans on their feet, and that'll send us to the bottom of the 5th inning. The score remains after that play from the center fielder, who, real quick, let me tell you who that was. Nazir Bergen, who has been the best hitter as well tonight for the Miners, already having a fantastic night for him. The score remains Hoppers 2, Miners 5. We are back here in the bottom of the 5th inning, and you are being treated to Thriller by Michael Jackson in the background as I talk here. Ethan Davis will replace Francisco Paradis on the mound. Davis, a solid reliever for the Hoppers this season. And Paradis finishes his day with 5 strikeouts, 1 walk, but giving up 7 hits and 5 runs. And up to bat first for the Miners is Brandon Juarez, who struck out in his last at-bat and flew out in his first. That pitch called a ball. Looked all right to me, but a ball nonetheless, maybe a tad bit low. That pitch definitely low, 2-0 the count. That pitch swung on for a strike, 2-1 the count. And if my eyes serve me correctly, I'm looking towards the Hoppers bullpen, and they already have Dylan Eaton warming up, who started once this season. That pitch called a strike, pretty pitch there, 2-2 the count. 0 outs on the board. That one called a ball, so full count here for Ethan Davis and Brandon Juarez. That pitch also called a ball, so those last 2 balls could be argued, but that'll send Juarez to first base on a walk. As River Terry, who has walked already himself in this game, will approach the plate. That pitch swung on, 0-1 the count. That pitch swung on. 0-2 the count quickly here for Terry. And that'll hit him. So that sends a runner to first base and sends Juarez to second. So after getting up in that count, Davis will sink it and send a runner to first. And Reed Douglas will have a quick chat with him as Nazir Bergen steps to the plate. Bergen in this game already has a double and a single, which landed him on second base after an error. He also had that fantastic diving play in the last inning that kept the Hoppers scoreless. So this is not a player you want to see with runners on second and first base. With no outs. And he will fly that one towards center field, or left field, excuse me, and Luis Vergara will call it. He makes the catch, and the runner will try to go to third, but doesn't go, and smart decision there as the ball would have beat him. So the Hoppers escaped that scare, and Will Vance, who has struck out and flew out in this game, steps up to the plate. Runner still on second and first base and only one out on the board. This would be a big one for Davis to get through Vance without advancing these runners. And Vance will pummel that one towards center field, and it looks good. It looks really good, and it's gone. So the home run there for Will Vance, who has been not great at the plate so far before that, will bring in 3 runs.
Now batting for the Miners, catcher number 20, Noah Clark.
And now Noah Clark, the catcher, is up. This game has ballooned to a 2-8 deficit for Hoptown very quickly with 2 straight 3-run innings. Let me remind you, Hoppers started this game up 2-0. That pitch called a strike. And that pitch is swung on for a strike. 0-2 the count here for Noah Clark, who had a single in his last at bat, but struck out in his first one. And Davis will hit him. So that's the second hit by pitch from Ethan Davis. And
Batting for the Miners, first baseman number 31.
That'll put a runner on first. That hit by pitch coming on an 0-2 count. The first one coming on an 0-2 count. So that's 2 advantages given up by Davis by hitting the batter. And Ben Combs steps up to the plate now. He has 2 singles in this game, both of those coming at good times. First pitch there is a strike for Davis, who has been throwing strikes. It's just he's also gotten a little wild on his off pitches and just a little too wild. That pitch is low for a ball, 1-1 the count. That pitch pops up towards center field, or right field, excuse me. Center field. Oliverio will make the play and will throw it to first base, and they'll tag it there. He left too early, and that'll end the fifth inning. And so we head to the top of the sixth inning, and a big home run from Will Vance brings in himself and two more to make the score. Hoppers 2, Miners 8. Here we are back in the top of the sixth inning. Chase Cummings now at the plate. Cummings has not gotten anything done so far today. And that ball is outside. Reed Gongwer remains on the mound for the Miners here in the sixth inning. So at least 5 full innings pitched for him, and it'll continue. Chase Cummings hits that one in between and he will stop up at first base. A pretty hit there, but not quite enough. But it'll send him to first base, and it will bring up Reed Douglas, who has a double in this game. Hopper is trying to take advantage of a pitcher here who has pitched already 5 full innings here in the sixth inning now, and potentially losing some of the strength in that arm. And that's an outside ball. So 1-0 the count, no outs on the board, runner at first base. And folks ducking under the cameras, but I think that would have missed him anyway, and that'll be a strike. 1-1 the count, it's evened up. No outs on the board. Reed Douglas at the plate, the Hoppers catcher. That ball is outside. 2-1 the count, no outs on the board. And Manuel Villalobos is on deck for Hoptown. That ball popped up towards right foul area, and it's going to be a hustle play from the right fielder who misses the catch. So 2-2 the count. Reed Douglas will remain alive. That right fielder has made quite a few deep runs in this game. He's caught 2 already and dropped 2 as well. But some hustle plays in right field from the Miners. They've got an absolute ton of space over there to make those runs. Don't have to worry about running into a wall or a fence or anything like that, so they're running full sprint for those. Reed Douglas remains alive here. 2-2 the count, no outs on the board. Chase Cummings is running at first base. And that's a pretty pitch, and it will sit Douglas down for the first out of the inning, and a strikeout against Reed Douglas. And Manuel Villalobos, who had a double in his last at-bat, will step up to the plate to try to keep the Hoppers offense moving here. He'll swing on that one. Pretty similar to his first swing in his last at-bat that ended up being a double, one of those reaching swings that throws him off balance on an outside ball. 0-1 the count. He'll swing on that one, chop it, and the play will be made at first base. It was definitely a tight one, and the umpire had to think about it, but he calls him out. So 2 outs, and Cummings will advance to second base as Mac Biggs steps on the plate. Biggs flew out in his first at-bat and struck out in his last one. He'll swing there. 0-1 the quick count for Mac Biggs. Runner in scoring position being Chase Cummings, but 2 outs on the board. So a uphill battle here for Hoptown, who are down 8-2. And Biggs will pop that one up foul, so he finds himself behind early here. 0-2 the count with 2 outs on the board in the top of the 6th inning. And a balk is called. So Chase Cummings will be sent to third base. Now in an advantageous position if Mac Biggs can find the ball here to bring in Chase Cummings and scratch back at this Miners lead that has ballooned up to 8-2. And Biggs will swing again. So that's another strikeout for Mac Biggs. And that will send us to the bottom of the 6th inning. The Hoppers can't find anything there. And the score remains Hoptown 2, Miners 8. We will be right back. We return here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Dylan Eaton will take over the mound for Ethan Davis and will be the third pitcher we've seen from Hoptown tonight. And he will be facing off against River Terry, it looks like. No, excuse me, Colton Shirley, the second baseman who had a single in his last at-bat. And he'll pop that one up towards left field. And Chase Cummings will run out there to make the play. So a quick first pitch swing will be an out. And we return to the top of the lineup for Madisonville as Wyatt Cunningham, who had a single in his last at-bat, will step to the plate. And he will go for a bunt, but it goes foul. So 0-1 the quick count here. Dylan Eaton started this season as a starting pitcher. Didn't want to be a starting pitcher from what I was told. Wanted to do what he's doing here and do some relieving this summer. And they brought in another starting pitcher, the Hoppers did. And so Eaton got his wish and he's now a reliever. And so maybe he's feeling himself out there just a little bit as he throws a strike, as he's now playing the role he wanted to coming into this summer. And that ball is hit well, but it's foul. So 0-2, the count will remain the same with one out on the board. And he will foul off another one. That one looks like it goes off his leg, maybe stings a little bit. He'll walk that one off before stepping back in the box. So the count will remain the same, 0-2 with one out on the board. And that pitch swung on for a strikeout from Dylan Eaton for the second out of the inning. No runners on base at the moment as Braden Taylor, who has struck out 2 times in a row, will step up to the plate. Here is Braden Taylor, as I said, facing off against Dylan Eaton. And he'll throw a strike there as Taylor swings. 0-1 the quick count. 2 outs on the board with no runners on base. And another swing there. So a quick 0-2 count once again for Eaton, who had the same look against Wyatt Cunningham, who fouled off a couple before striking out. And that is a high pitch for a ball. And a good athletic play there from Reed Douglas. Wouldn't have mattered if it got loose, but like to keep him on his toes. 1-2 the count with 2 outs on the board. And that pitch is fouled behind home plate. So the count will remain the same, 1-2. And that pitch just outside, called a ball. So the 2s are wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs as Dylan Eaton faces off against Braden Taylor. And he'll throw a strike there. So 2 back-to-back strikeouts for Dylan Eaton. And they will walk this one without giving up any hits or any runs, as the defense looks a little bit more solid now. The score does still remain Hoppers 2, Miners 8, and we will head to the 7th inning. And we are here in the top of the 7th inning as you are serenaded by YMCA, by the Village people, and by the Madisonville Miners fans. And Robert Estrada will be up to the plate as we are back at the top of the lineup for the Hoppers, and a new pitcher here for the Miners throwing a ball there to get things started off for him is Jace Parnan, who's listed as a utility player but who's pitching now and who's from Vincennes University. That'll be a strong single from Robert Estrada straight down the middle. His 3rd single of the day will land him on first base and will bring up Luis Vergara. Oh, not Luis Vergara, excuse me, Gavin Baxter. Of course, Reed Gongwer went 6 full innings for the Miners with a very good outing, only giving up 2 runs, both of which coming in the first 2 innings, but 4 straight scoreless runs. There's a strike called against Baxter, 0-1 the count. And so now Jace Parnan coming in, who potentially is not a pitcher first, but will be pitching. That pitch outside and stopped by the catcher, 1-1. The count now evened up for Gavin Baxter, who hasn't been able to get anything done offensively today, but who is a good base runner and someone the Hoppers would like to see on base here. And he hits that one straight towards the second baseman, who bobbles it and who won't make the play. So probably still could have made the play at second base there, chooses not to, chooses to go for Baxter at first, and that's an error, and Baxter will make it to first base. Estrada will make it to second, and the Hoppers are in a good position here as Luis Vergara steps up to the plate. Luis Vergara already with a single and a double in this game, the double coming in his last at-bat. And that pitch is super inside, nearly hits him. Gets out of the way, 1-0 the count. No outs on the board here, runners at second and first. That ball outside, 2-0 the count. That straight down the middle will be a strike. So 2-1 the count here. Runners at second and first and 0 outs on the board. And there's another strike to even up the count. So 2-2 here. Once again, 0 outs. And once again, Luis Vergara, someone who very rarely strikes out. It's already striked out once in this game. Will look to do his best to not let that happen again, and he will stay alive there with a deep hit towards right foul territory, and it's exactly that, and he will remain alive here in the same spot. That is a wild pitch, and it will send Estrada to third and Baxter to second, and is a ball, so it makes this a full count. Or no, did they say he swung? Must have swung. I didn't catch that. So Luis is down on a strikeout. Didn't agree with it, but I'm assuming that was a check swing, obviously. If he swung all the way through, I'm doubting he would be disagreeing with the umpire. So a check swing called a strike there. But runners here on third and second, 2 in scoring position with Carter Hood at the plate. 1 out on the board. And Hood will immediately foul one off. And a good play made by the third base coach there for the 0-1 count for Carter Hood here early. And Hood will hit that one straight to the third baseman. So 2 outs with runners at third and second base. And Dominic Oliverio, who already hit one deep in this game, but it was caught, and who has a single, steps up to the plate. Oliverio, of course, one of the better power hitters for Hoptown, but let's see what he can get done here with runners, 2 runners to be exact, in scoring position. 2 fast runners being Robert Estrada and Gavin Baxter, some of the best base runners on this team, and then fouls that one off, so 0-1 the quick count. And there is a ball outside, 1-1 the count, 2 outs on the board and 2 runners in scoring position for Hoptown here in the top of the 7th inning. If Oliverio can make it through here, he will be followed up by Chase Cummings. And that is a super inside pitch. Oliverio makes his out of the way, but the count will be 2-1. Still 2 outs on the board. Estrada at third base scored the first run in this game for the Hoppers, and a ball thrown there. So 3-1 the count as Oliverio threatens to load the bases here for Hoptown. And that pitch is hit high and to the right side, and Ben Combs, the first baseman, will make the play. So despite some good offense from Hoptown, they get nothing, and the score remains 2-8. We are back here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Brandon Juarez steps up to the plate. Juarez with a strikeout and a walk in this game. A strike called there for Eaton. Looked a tad bit low, but it called a strike nonetheless. And the score remains Hoppers 2, Miners 8. And another strike. Eaton throwing some really good pitches right now, just doing what he needs to get done as far as strikes are concerned. That is a foul, so the count will remain the same, 1-2. And a strikeout there from Juarez. So another one for Eaton. That'll bring up River Terry, the third baseman. A ball thrown there, so they count 1-0. And that's a strike, so 1-1, 1 out on the board. And that pitch outside for a ball, 2-1 the count. That pitch called a strike, so that'll even it up at 2 apiece with 1 out on the board here as Dylan Eaton is pitching well for Hoptown. And that pitch is low, so a full count. 3 balls, 2 strikes, and 1 out on the board, that coming from strikeout. And that'll be hit in between second and first, and Robert Estrada will pick it up in right. So that's a single from River Terry.
Now batting, center fielder, number 22, Nazir Bergen.
And now we see Nazir Bergen, who already has a double and a single in this game. Pretty big guy, has been hitting the ball well, and in his last at-bat he popped it up, but clearly had a ton of power behind it. So a good hitter here for Madisonville, and a runner on first base with 1 out on the board. And a ball thrown there. Douglas doing a good job to make his way over there and keep it from going wild. That pitch hit very well towards left field, and Luis Vergara will make the catch. But it's another scary one from Nazir Bergen. 2 outs on the board.
Left fielder, number 28, Will Vance.
Will Vance, who hit that home run that made this game 8-2, will now step back up to the plate. Of course, in his last one, he did hit that home run. That time, it was against Ethan Davis. This time, it's against Dylan Eaton. And he gets a strike there. Still a runner on first. That is a pretty pitch. Tad bit inside, but if it comes just a little bit over, it would have surely been a strike. Called a strike either way, but was a close one. And here you have an 0-2 count for Will Vance. And that one is just a little low, probably a strike, but a makeup call most likely. 1-2, the count, 2 outs on the board. And there's a high pitch. So the 2s are wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. That pitch outside. So full count here for Dylan Eaton and Will Vance after going up 0-2 in this one. Eaton finds himself in a full count with a runner on first base and a home run hitter at the plate. And he will swing. So that is a strikeout for Dylan Eaton. And we go to the top of the 8th inning here, and the score remains Hoppers 2, Miners 8. We will be right back. Here we are in the top of the 8th inning as Chase Cummings steps up to the plate. Jace Parnan still on the mound here for the Miners. And Reed Douglas on deck. A ball thrown there, so 1-0 the quick count. And that pitch is hit very well, but it's hit towards center field, and he makes the catch.
Next up for the Hoppers, number 17, Douglas.
Reed Douglas now stepping to the plate. The Hoppers have to get something done here, or they'll only have one more chance in the top of the 9th. And already having one out on the board, no runners on base. Reed Douglas at the plate. There's a low pitch for a ball to get things started. And there's an outside pitch for another ball, 2-0 the count. And another ball low there in the dirt, so 3-0 the count for Reed Douglas, who you'll assume would watch here to try and walk and get on base for Hoptown. And there's another wild pitch, so Douglas will watch for and head to first.
Next up for the Hoppers, number 32, Villalobos.
I believe, let me look through here just to make sure, but I believe that is the Hoppers' first walk of the day. So good pitching today from Miners pitchers. Most of that pitching done by Reed Gongwer, and now, of course, Jace Parnan at the mound. But first walk in the 8th inning is pretty impressive. Ball thrown there, called a ball, looked close. This is Manuel Villalobos at the plate, who has a double in this game. There's a low pitch, so 2-0 the count for Villalobos. One out on the board. And there's a swinging strike from Villalobos. 2-1 the count, one out on the board. Reed Douglas at first base for Hoptown. And there's another swinging strike. 2-2 the count, all even up with one out for Manuel Villalobos, who hasn't struck out today, but who is one of the higher strikeout players on this team. And he will watch that one. It's outside. 3-2 the count, definitely outside there. Full count. And that pitch swung on for a strikeout. Villalobos will head back to the dugout. And there's 2 outs on the board as Stephen Bell will replace Mac Biggs as the designated hitter here, who is Bell is a lefty.
Pinch hitting for the Hoppers, number 21, Stephen Bell.
Biggs struck out 2 times in this game, so they pulled Bell, and they're having him pinch hit here. And he will foul that one straight back. 0-1 the quick count. 2 outs on the board. Reed Douglas remains at first base. There's a low pitch. 1-1 the count, evened up. 2 outs on the board. Robert Estrada on deck to get the lineup restarted. There's another low pitch, and Douglas will head to second base as the catcher too busy watching that, waiting for a strike call, and he doesn't see Douglas head to second. So Douglas now in scoring position, 2-1 the count. And that is a foul from Stephen Bell. So the twos are wild here. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs for Stephen Bell and a runner on second. So twos all over the place as Jace Parnan tries to take down Stephen Bell and send this to the bottom of the 8th inning and give the Hoppers only one more shot at getting back in this ball game. And that's definitely an inside pitch there, but it's called a strike. So Stephen Bell will sit with a strikeout, and we will head to the bottom of the 8th inning. And we return here in the bottom of the 8th inning. The score remains Hoppers 2, Miners 8. That's been the score since the 5th inning when Will Vance hit that 3-run, a home run that ballooned this lead for the Miners. And now on the mound is Cannon Anthony replacing Dylan Eaton, who came in and pitched well for Hoptown. But they're going to try to keep that arm safe and put Cannon Anthony in the game here in the bottom of the 8th inning to hopefully keep the score the same. And up to the plate will be Noah Clark, the catcher.
Leading off for the Miners, catcher number 20, Noah Clark.
And a high pitch there to get things started for Anthony. 1-0, the early count. And there's an inside pitch. 2-0, the count now for Noah Clark. And that's a swinging strike, so 2-1. Now the count, 0 outs, of course, on the board as Clark is the leadoff hitter. And an inside pitch there, so 3-1 is the count here. And a high pitch will walk Clark. So a runner at first base now as Ben Combs will step up to the plate. Combs already has 2 singles in this game. That pitch is just outside for a ball. 1-0 the count here. 0 outs on the board and a runner at first. Ben Combs at the plate. There's a strike. 1-1 the count evened up here for Cannon Anthony. That pitch fouled off behind home plate, so 1-2 the count now for Combs. And a high pitch there, so the count is now evened up at 2 apiece as Cannon Anthony still trying to find the strike zone. Walked his first batter, and now an even count at 2 apiece here with his second. And that'll be fouled off for Combs to stay alive. And that pitch, a strike and a strikeout for Cannon Anthony to pick up the first out of the bottom of the 8th inning, sending Combs packing and bringing up Colton Shirley, who has a single in this game, but who has also struck out. Runner at first base still, and 1 out on the board here as Colton Shirley steps up to the plate. After this, we will be back at the top of the starting lineup for the Miners, and that pitch, or that hit directly to first base. Manuel Villalobos steps on first base and will send Shirley back to the dugout. Broken bat there, so that battle head to the graveyard. And Wyatt Cunningham will now be at the plate. That did advance a runner to second base, but 2 outs now on the board for Hoptown. And Wyatt Cunningham, who has a single in this game, is now at the plate. And there's a strike to get things started here for Cannon Anthony. 0-1 the quick count. And another one straight down the middle, so a quick 0-2 count for Cannon Anthony against Wyatt Cunningham. Cunningham will step out of the box, step back in to get his head back on his shoulders, and count is 0-2 with 2 outs, a runner on second base here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Hoppers with one more chance to get back in this ball game. And that is an outside pitch stopped by Reed Douglas. And Mike Albin will go and chat with Cannon Anthony, probably just to calm those nerves and tell him, let's get out of here. I doubt they would be taking him off. He's pitched well. And they're going to be chatting on the mound. And you're going to be serenaded by It's Raining Men by the Weather Girls during that break. And Alvin will head back to the dugout. Douglas will head back to the plate, and Cannon Anthony remains on the mound. The count is 1-2 with 2 outs on the board and a runner at second base. This is Wyatt Cunningham on the plate, the leadoff hitter for the Miners today. And that's pretty close, but just outside, so the twos are wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, and a runner on second. Twos all over the place here for the Hoppers. 2 runs on the board for Hoptown as well. And there's a high pitch, so a full count here against Cunningham, threatening to walk his second batter of the day, Cannon Anthony. Either that or strike out his second batter. And that ball popped up to shortstop, and he bobbles the throw, so an error will bring that runner home, or not home, to first base. And a runner advances to third base, so runners in the corners now for the Miners, and Braden Taylor, who has struck out in 3 straight at-bats, will step up to the plate. And a stolen second base will put 2 in scoring position for the Miners, as that ball was just too high for Reed Douglas to send to second base. So 2 runners in scoring position now, and the count is 1-0, 2 outs on the board. And a low pitch there, so 2-0. The quick count as Cannon Anthony falls behind. Don't want to see loaded bases here and let this game get even more out of hand. And there's a strike, 2-1 the count. And another strike, this time swinging, and the twos are once again wild as Braden Taylor threatens to strike out for his 4th time today, the shortstop for the Miners. Cannon Anthony, of course, wanting to get out of this inning as soon as possible. And there's a swing. Reed Douglas will throw that to first base, and we will head to the top of the 9th inning. The score remains Hoppers 2, Miners 8. The Hoppers will have one more chance to get this thing done in the 9th. We will see you then. And we are back, Hoptown Hoppers TV. This is Ethan Alexander here in the top of the 9th inning as the Hoppers have one more chance to get this thing done, but they are in a tough position as they trail 2-8 against the Madisonville Miners. Robert Estrada at the plate now, the leadoff hitter for the Hoppers. And there's a ball in the dirt. 1-0 the count. Estrada with 3 singles in this game has had a good night himself. The Hoppers have had a good hitting night, have the same amount of hits, 10, as the Miners, but are down 8-2, so getting those hits just not in the right time leads them with an 8-2 deficit. And there's 3 straight balls thrown from Parnan, who came in the 7th inning. Still out there in the 9th here, threatening to walk Estrada. And that's a strike, so 3-1 the count now for Robert Estrada. And another strike, full count all of a sudden, as Robert Estrada watches 2 strikes go by. And another one, 3 straight strikes from Parnan will sit down Estrada, will bring up Baxter, and will leave an out on the board.
The Miners will be back here tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. to host the Louisville Jockeys.
And a strike straight down the middle there against Gavin Baxter, who today has reached on an error, but apart from that has not been able to get much done. And he check swings there, is called for it, so a quick 0-2 count for Gavin Baxter as he falls behind early. And an outside high pitch there, so 1-2 the count, 1 out on the board. Gavin Baxter at the plate and Luis Vergara on deck. And a swinging strike will sit down Baxter for the 2nd strikeout of the inning for Jace Parnan, bringing up Luis Vergara for the final attempt here for the Hoppers. Only 1 more out remaining in this one. And a strike called there against Luis Vergara. That one a little low, but a strike nonetheless. And 0-1 the quick count here for Vergara. And he will hit that one foul on the left side. So another quick 0-2 count here. 2 strikes for Vergara, 2 outs on the board. And Luis, who has already struck out twice today, has not struck out many times so far this season, is seeing a high ball there. So 1-2 the count. And they're playing We Will Rock You. And he's called on a strikeout, so 3 strikeouts will end the game here. And that's the final. Hoppers 2, Miners 8. The Hoppers will return to action tomorrow at home against the Clarksville Whirlybirds at 6:30. Make sure you're there, and if you're not, we will be streaming it here on Hoptown Hoppers TV at 6:30. Pre-game show at 6:15. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Hoptown Hoppers TV. This has been Ethan Alexander. Final score, Hoppers 2, Miners 8.